all pain is temporary, I promise you, you will get through it. And that's not even cancer. That's anything that anyone's going through. Any moment that you fear, that you feel darkness, loneliness, cloudiness, apprehension, uncertainty, loneliness, fear, isolated, like all pain is temporary. Like all pain is temporary. This test will be your testament. This mess will be your message. Continue to move forward. Continue to shine and stay deep rooted in your knowingness.
Hey, I'm Tanya Wilkinson, and this is Death on the Daily, bringing the conversation about death out of the shadows and into the mainstream. Because along with birth and change, if there's one thing that's going to happen to us all, then death is it. And we're going to explore how death actually shows up for us on the daily in a multitude of ways, and how when we allow ourselves to accept and to be with death, how it can teach us a whole heap about how to live this life well. When you think of cancer, what's the first thing that you think of? And I want you to go for the first thing that pops into your mind. I'm actually asked this question in today's episode by my guest, and what I realized is how my subconscious immediately took me to a hospital ward. I was surprised at how clinical, sterile, and ultimately how it lacked the incredible human journeys at the heart. And it really reflected most of the cancer research ads and TV portrayals that I've seen in my lifetime, so I'm not at all surprised that that was the first image that popped up. But also I realized how that being my dominant subconscious narrative has pushed cancer behind hospital doors and away from me. And here we can see how those stigmas are created and perpetuated in our society and in media portrayals. And the reality is that for the 1 in 2 of us who will develop some form of cancer in our lifetimes, there's actually a whole lot of living life with cancer that's still not being given the spotlight that it deserves. And my guest today is on a mission to change the stigma associated with cancer and to encourage us to really, truly seize life. Will Wise is the founder of CancerBae charity. He's a former professional basketball player who was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in 2023 and will bring such hope and celebration of the beauty of life and the resilience that we hold as we navigate life's challenges. So welcome, Will, to Death on the Daily.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity, to share my story and be on such a great platform. I appreciate you, Quinn.
I appreciate you, Will, and I appreciate you so much that I'm representing today. I've got
Let them know that's CB merch. It's that CB merch. Let me get you one, CancerBae.com.
Exactly that. And with that in mind, with CancerBae in mind, let's dive into your story, because you've got the most incredible story. And it's really rooted in your journey from life as a professional basketball player through to where you are now creating this CancerBae movement. And let's really root into your journey, which really inspires me because it's one of resilience, it's one of hope, and it's one of absolutely seizing life. So I'd love for you to share anything around your journey as a professional athlete through your diagnoses and into living life beyond.
So, hi, I'm Will from Philly. So I probably should start like West Philadelphia, born and raised. No. I don't know if everyone will get that reference, but yeah.
I think they will.
I'm Will. I'm originally from Philly. I've been living in London for about 4 years now. And I used to play basketball through and through, full on, basketball person. And then in January 2023, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, medullary thyroid cancer, as well as a malignant pheochromocytoma. And I know that's a bit of a mouthful. So to break it down, the pheochromocytoma is basically just a tumor on my adrenal gland, which causes my body to produce abnormal amounts of adrenaline. So on average, humans' adrenaline ranges from 0 to 1,000. 1,000 being fight or flight mode. When I got sick and they found the tumor, my adrenaline was actually 50,000. So it was literally 50 times. Yeah, it was literally 50 times the average human, which caused all my organs to shut down simultaneously. So in like late November 2022, I had a crisis, is what they call it, which basically the tumor was kicking off and it caused my heart, my liver, my kidney, my lungs to shut down all at the same time, which was like unheard of because I didn't present any signs whatsoever. So yeah, they took me to the hospital, told me I had an 8 centimeter tumor on my adrenal gland, and then start running all these other tests. And then they found these lumps in my neck and discovered the thyroid cancer. And yeah, that was January 2023. I had my first surgery in March 2023, then my second surgery in April 2023, then my third surgery in December 2023, and then my fourth surgery in September 2024. So yeah, we're here now. But my whole movement, well, since my diagnosis, I've been on a mission to help change the stigma associated with cancer. Because as we know, most people hear the word cancer and think of it as like, the word that shouldn't be spoken, like Voldemort in a way, or like something may be spoken about in secrecy or hushed tones. So people who are stage 4 like myself is no longer about fighting cancer or battling cancer or even surviving cancer. It's about finding a way to live with it and to live well with it. So I started my own movement and charity called CancerBae, which is all about hope, vibrance, optimism, changing the conversation around the big C is what we call it. And yeah, just being uniquely, authentic, creating a new space in, the cancer awareness, realm. Because most people think of cancer, and especially cancer charities, and think of it as like, older. And like some cancer charities are like 100 years old, like, which is like crazy to think. So like CancerBae is a new, fresh twist of, cancer awareness, not allowing your circumstances to define you, and yeah, just putting hope, light, and love into the world.
Well, not allowing your circumstances to define you, that hope, that light, that love, everything that you're bringing. And I just also really want to honor you in your mission of really destigmatizing the conversation around cancer, because it baffles me when 1 in 2 of us will be directly affected by cancer in our lifetime, that there is even a conversation about this being such a stigma and that we can't hold this conversation. So I'd love as well to hear from you, obviously, because you're living it, you're living these conversations, you're out there, you're talking to people, you're telling people that you have stage 4 cancer. And tell me about what that experience is like for you.
Well, it's gotten better. Originally, it was a tough conversation to have, just because cancer is just something people don't really talk about. People feel ashamed or not wanting people to feel sorry for them, so they hide it. They don't feel like they can really, release all those emotions, and they don't really want to put those emotions onto other people, which I totally understand. But when I first got my diagnosis, it felt like the world stopped. I remember vividly when the doctor told me, like, hey, based on the test we ran, I remember it vividly what she said. She was like, based on the tests, I think you have cancer. And then I rebutted and was like, wait, are you telling me that I don't have cancer? Or are you telling me that you think that I have cancer? Because those are two different things. And she's like, based on the results of these tests, I'm 99% sure that you have cancer. And then I was like, dang, what? Like, yeah, like literally, not like the world stopped. And me and my partner at the time, I turned to her and we just like, we were pressure releasers, so we made a joke like, oh, well, I guess we going out tonight. Like something crazy, like just pressure release that. But when we got home, it really sunk in, like, to the sense, like, damn, like, what comes next? Like, how do I continue to live knowing that I have this illness, this condition? And yeah, I held on to it for a while. And then obviously had to tell my family. And then I posted a video, and then that video like took off. And then the rest is history.
Yeah, and I think that just you sharing your story also shows just how complicated it is in these moments, and how much there is that journey to acceptance, and that because actually when change is forced upon us, like a big diagnosis like cancer, actually our world changes overnight. And that's a lot of change. We humans are typically resistant to change, full stop, aren't we? And
Yeah.
actually, when there's so much, when our world literally is turned upside down, that's a lot to take. And what I love in everything that I've seen from you, I've been following you and your incredible content, is just how open you are about that journey, about your personal experience. And I think what I can really feel from you is how you go out there and have those conversations. And actually, the more that we can have those conversations, the more that, if we feel that it's the right time for us to share our stories, that actually it can help many other people who are navigating really challenging journeys themselves. And obviously, as you've acknowledged as well, there's a lot of people in this world who are not very good when someone is sat opposite them and saying, hey, this is what's happening with me. And with that in mind, and I've seen you do some awesome content where you go out there and you really do ask people, what do you think about cancer? What are your thoughts on this? And then you obviously share your story. And in the conversations that we have, how does that stigma, how does that play out into how some, maybe a lot of us, react when we hear the word cancer?
Yeah, literally. So as you know, like my movement is about, changing that conversation. And one of the
Yeah.
ways of changing that conversation is by having it in the first place, right? So I do these street interview segments where I go out and I ask like a random person if they'd like to be a part of my interview. And, they see me, I'm 6'9", I got tattoos, like they have no idea what I'm going to ask them. And they're very apprehensive. So when I tell them, like, don't worry, it's very wholesome, they lighten up a little bit. And then I ask them the question, so what's the first thing you think of when you hear the word cancer? And then the camera freezes and zooms in on them. And then they're like taken back because they would never thought in a million years, like, whoa, that would be the question he asked. And that's how you really get to see like what people think, like literally premeditated. And you could just get a gist of how cancer is perceived in society. And some of the answers have been wild. Obviously, some of the answer has been like very touching and moving, but still there's been some answers where I'm like, wow. Like I remember one good answer, like one person said a pastry dish, like a petri dish, which was like interesting. Yeah, literally that's what I did. I was like,
Oh, wow.
okay, yeah, like
Wow.
okay. But like you just get weird answers. But
Mhm.
I think that the more we talk about it, the more we change the conversation. Because as you said before, statistically speaking, 1 in 2 people will be diagnosed with cancer in our lifetime. So that's statistically the facts. There shouldn't be like a taboo surrounding the word, or there shouldn't be discomfort about like someone speaking about it. But it is, and I understand where it comes from because there is a lot of fear. Like that's a scary word. Like up to date now, when people hear the word cancer, their heart drops and they think of like death. Like that's the most popular answer that I get in these interviews is death or sadness. So trying to change it to hope or optimism or vibrance, strength. Trying to change it to something.
Hope, strength, optimism, vibrant. You got hope. If anyone who's watching the video of this, you can see Will with his hope artwork just over your shoulder. I love that. And also I think, to your point, it really is around, because it's such a taboo, it's pushed. I love the petri dish one from that perspective. I'm just thinking, for what I can connect into is that someone who is almost that switch off. So you might see the cancer research charity ads on the TV where they've got a petri dish, and it's almost like from that point onwards, I'm shut down, I'm not engaging with it. But actually, that unfortunately is our society in general. And I think that's a really interesting thing for me, of where there is such taboo when it comes to something like cancer, that what that does is it means we run away from it instead of saying, actually, to everything that you speak to, there's the opportunity to live life now. There's the opportunity to take all of those life lessons and really, really integrate and say, what is most important to me right now? And so, with that in mind, I'd love to connect into your message of that hope, that optimism, that vibrancy, that beauty that I've seen you talk about, the beauty in our journeys. Tell me more about that, about your mindset when it comes to how you live life.
Okay, can I ask you a question before I answer your question?
Yeah.
What is the first thing you think of when you hear the word cancer?
Oh, good question. Good question. I mean, I think I'm probably biased. I'm going to try and take myself out of this conversation because I've been so immersed in your world. I am very much in the living life space, but I would definitely say it would take me to hospitals, to treatment. It's very much in the clinical space, which from everything that this conversation and knowing your content, for me, that's not where I should be. Because actually it is around all of the opportunities of life. And I think what I really connect into, this is me being biased now and saying where I want that almost subconscious bias around cancer to shift. I want it to shift to the fact that actually through diagnosing, you can tell me if this is in alignment with CancerBae and everything you're doing, but I feel like if I look at where I need that subconscious to shift, it's really around seeing, not just having that sort of clinical cloak over cancer, and seeing that actually when we are faced with these life-changing diagnoses, taking that invitation of living life well. What does that mean for you, for me, for anyone? Because actually that really resonates with me and my Death on the Daily mission, which is very much, there are many, many different transitions, endings, etc. in life. And ultimately what being with those big transitional moments teaches us is live life well now. Just live it well. Because for any of us, for anyone who's journeying through, we don't know when we're going to get, I don't know, hit by a bus or whatever. We just don't know when that ending in our life is going to come. So live life well now. And when I connect into you and your mission, it really, really is around, let's just seize the beauty of this life, including in those challenges. But I will call myself out that actually, if I connect into like where cancer, I suppose, sits in my subconscious, it's definitely in that clinical chemo, sort of painful medical journey space. So yeah, tell me your thoughts on that.
Hey, your opinion is your opinion. Obviously, I'm with you, and like I want it to shift, right? You said something very prominent, like the unconscious bias, right? That's what you said.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if the subconscious, whatever the subconscious goes to, I want that to be like optimism. I want that to be hope. I want that to be like strength. I want that to be like, not what it is now. And so I'm gonna ask you this question again in 5 years and see if has shifted the conversation.
I love that. I think that's really important because actually in having you, there's don't know if you ever heard anything or read anything by Kate Bowler. And so she's been journeying with, I think it's colon cancer. And I think the more that stories are out there of hope and of optimism and of also just being realistic and being able to say, do you know what, I am facing into my challenges and I'm willing to speak openly about them. I'm not going to, keep them behind closed doors. Unfortunately, a lot of that is because our society is, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I speak about difficult things, it's like a roadrunner effect. People disappear. But actually, I think that because our unconscious bias is rooted in what we see in the media, the adverts and everything. And I think that's where everything that you're doing with CancerBae is just incredible, because you're sharing your story. You're sharing all of your story in all of the challenges, all of the beauty, all of the joys, all of the hope. And I think the more of that it's the tonic that we need, the medicine that we need in this world, because actually that's how we then, that subconscious can reframe. Because I can now, if you think about that petri dish kind of that vision, and actually, if the only way that, or the majority of the ways you've connected in with cancer is Cancer Research UK, here's a scientist in a laboratory, and maybe there's a bit of hugging at the end of an ad, but that's all that you've really seen, because actually these stories are also underrepresented, for example, in like TV shows and, films and all of those spaces. I think you're doing really important work, Will. I think it's absolutely crucial.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Just getting started. Stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned. So yeah, tell me more on this. This is going to help me with this reframe and helping to unpick those subconscious layers that have been laid down through my life.
Okay.
Tell me more around the hope, the optimism, the beauty in life, as I suppose for you, as you've been able to connect into it and really unearth that well within you since your diagnosis.
So a little bit of backstory. I was adopted when I was adolescent. I was adopted when I was around 13. I lived with my biological family till I was about 11, and then went into the child welfare system, and then was adopted when I was 13. When I was adopted, my adopted mom was a metaphysician. So she was very deeply in tune with spirituality and law of attraction, and understanding that your thoughts could very much turn into reality if you do the correct work, like like manifestation, and like all these things are tied into overall energy, and you are your energy, and whatever you put out into the universe will eventually gravitate towards you if you again do the right work, right? And I've always been like the weird crystal guy, energy guy. That's why I always got on like with crystals. But there was a moment where I got so in tune with basketball and wanting to be like, great, right? Just wanting to be the stereotypical basketball pro, making tons of money, like traveling the world, like just the stereotypical basketball player. And I got away from I never got away from my spirituality, because I always was like spiritual, but I got away and got so caught up into I have to be this I have to be the stereotype, right? I have to be this guy that I envisioned when I was a kid. Like I have to, all the work that I put in has to matter, has to ball into something. And when I got my cancer diagnosis, and going through this whole journey, it just put into perspective that none of that matters. Your profession doesn't matter. The goals you set out that you don't achieve and you internalize, that doesn't matter. None of that matters except for your mental health, your sense of feeling supported in your moments of fear, anxiousness, anxiety, uncertainty, and it just opened my eyes to understanding that this is my moment to practice where I preach, right? So all the things that I would, give advice to friends, give advice to kids, give advice to my mom, giving advice to people, because I've always been a leader, giving light and love and advice to people. This was my defining moment to literally root in and practice what you preach, right? So you talk all this positivity stuff, you talk all this, now it's time to do what you say, you be who you say you are. And it just was so rewarding in knowing that, despite obviously unforeseen circumstances, because I wouldn't wish cancer on anyone or wish that they would have to go through the journey that I went through. But in going through the journey, it felt purposeful. I felt maybe this is what I was being prepared for, instead of artificial goals. You know what I mean? Maybe this is what my meaning is. My meaning is to help inspire hope, inspire optimism. And my mom used to always talk about me being a leader, and I got it because I was obviously always taller than everyone. I was always charismatic. I always talked a lot. But this was a time where I had to lead by example. And it was so different because it wasn't about basketball. It wasn't about, looking for romance. It wasn't about looking for bromance. It was literally about you looking yourself in the mirror and picking yourself up every single day, and believing that this mess will be your message. And that's one of the sayings of CancerBae. Actually, we have 3 sayings. All pain is temporary. This mess will be your message. This test will be your testament. So literally, these are rooted concepts that stand out in my head, and really I felt like I was glowing. Like, like as I continue to do this work, I feel like I'm glowing, and I feel like I'm finally operating in an energy that I've always wanted to be operating in, all that I was, meant to be operating in. And it's just really rewarding helping others to see that, right? It's not because because I figured it out and I understand it, but it doesn't just stop there. It's about giving back. Like, and it's very like touching. So I don't know if I answer your question correctly, but yeah,
you absolutely did. And I can see how you are absolutely glowing in your mission, your energy, everything that you are sharing out into the world. And if we were to root this into, say, if anyone is watching or listening and they're going through a cancer journey, or they're perhaps supporting someone else, really rooting into that beautiful mindset and that real awareness and connection to hope, to optimism, also to the messiness as well of these journeys and the tests and everything that it brings. What advice would you give to anyone who's journeying on this path?
Yeah. So anyone who's gone through this, anyone who's going through this, anyone who's going to go through this, you have to understand not too high on the highs, not too low on the lows, and continue to move forward. Like, all of this is part of your journey. Like, all of this is part of your journey. It's part of like understanding that all pain is temporary. Like, the good days wouldn't seem so good without the bad days, and if you can lock in on that and lock in on the message, all pain is temporary, I promise you, you will get through it. And that's not even cancer. That's anything that anyone's going through. Any moment that you fear, that you feel darkness, loneliness, cloudiness, apprehension, uncertainty, loneliness, fear, like not belonging, isolated, like, all pain is temporary. Like, all pain is temporary. This test will be your testament. This mess will be your message. Continue to move forward. Continue to shine and stay deep rooted in your knowingness. You got to stay deep rooted in your knowingness. And I promise you, when the sun shines tomorrow, or we're in London the day after tomorrow,
or March,
I promise you, it'll be worth it. It'll all be worth it. The journey will be worth it. And like, yeah, just live, just thrive, and don't feel sorry for yourself. Cause like, we're only human, right? And like, when something happens so suddenly, you get in your own thoughts, you get in your own head. Like, the toughest thing to look in is the mirror. Like, yo, especially with me and understanding the spirituality, it's like, yo, what did I do to manifest this? Because like the law of attraction is like, yo, everything that you have is you've attracted. So you do get that and understanding, like, yo, woe is me. You can't go there. You gotta go the other way. Don't go there. Go the other way. Go the other way. Like, yeah. But I think that hope, because think about it this way, right? People who've gone through their cancer journey, statistics show that cancer is not undefeated. Like, millions of people have gone up against cancer and they've won. That's a fact, right? Yes, people have lost. A lot of millions of people have also lost. But if you come in with the mindset, the glass is half full and knowledge is power, like, now that you have that information, the hardest part is getting that information. Now that you have that information, you can take the right steps to, position yourself to succeed, versus you not knowing and you find it suddenly, and then, everything happens and it snowballs. I think that like, there's been moments in history that shows where people are like conceding to the negative energy, the negative connotation, the negative, and that negativity is heavy. Like, that negativity is heavy. It weighs on your shoulders, it weighs on your posture, it weighs on your hope, it weighs on everything. So like, that doesn't help the cancer. That accelerates the cancer. Well, that makes it spread faster. Like, you gotta shine. You gotta put some light on it. And the darkness hides from the light. And you gotta continue to surround yourself with light. And you gotta continue to like tap into your positivity, because positivity is contagious. And I'm not saying in no way, shape, or form, I'm not a doctor. I'm gonna be transparent. No way, shape, or form am I saying that if you have a positive mindset, you will no longer have cancer. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Scientists might, grill me, cancer research. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it helps drastically. Drastically.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I really resonate with that mindset and bringing in that hope, bringing in that optimism, and being able to connect into those glimmers, those joys, those everything, as you shared, the good days when that sunshine comes back in. And I think that that's really, really powerful because, I think in a world where we don't talk about the difficult, and that's oftentimes not the fault, and it's never the fault of the person who's going through the challenge, but ultimately oftentimes it is because we're not able to sit with it as the listener, or it's not the happy stories that wants to get shared through whatever algorithms or wherever it is. But actually I think that, as you shared, where there's so many lessons through how we really tap into that well of, and I want to talk to you about resilience, because I know you share such a powerful perspective of resilience, knowing no bounds. But actually I think the more that we can talk and the more that we can share stories, and particularly for something like cancer that will affect 1 in 2 of us, say that statistic again, I think that's where we can really, really connect into the fact that there are all of these different threads of that experience. And of course, there's going to be the challenging, but actually, let's also, as you shared, make sure that there's always those threads of hope, of optimism, of beauty, of connecting into the beauty of life that run alongside. And that's what I can feel really, really strongly in your mission, in your message. And I think that it is so, so powerful, where we obviously also live as humans who have a negativity bias, and understandably so, we are hardwired to connect into that negative. But actually, as you shared, we have a choice. What else can we see here? I think that's so, so powerful. And on the topic of resilience, I really want to root into you and your resilience. I love that part of the CancerBae message and mission is really around that. Our resilience knows no bounds. And I also, equally, on us not being able to hold difficult conversations, I think we as humans, we underestimate the strength that every single one of us have to be able to navigate through the most challenging of circumstances with grace, with beauty, with living life in all capital letters. So tell me more about the resilience that you've realized within yourself in this journey.
So like, again, going back to my childhood, right? Going back, I grew up in inner city Philadelphia, right? Uptown Philadelphia, to be exact. And statistically speaking, if we talking statistically, right? I've overachieved so many times in my life, right? Growing up in inner city Philadelphia, underneath the poverty line, I wasn't supposed to, graduate high school, statistically speaking, as a Black man. I wasn't supposed to go to college, let alone earn a master's, let alone play professional basketball, let alone play professional basketball for several countries in several years in several countries, right? Statistically speaking, I've already defined the odds, so much so that when I got my cancer diagnosis, I didn't even bat an eye. Like, yeah, I was sad, and yeah, I got, it's a shock, right? It's a shock to your system having that, news given to you. But I never once like doubted my ability to like be able to combat that, mentally, because again, I'm already here. Like, that's my first thing I thought of. I'm like, man, CancerBae. Like, literally, CancerBae came about probably 20 minutes after the doctor said you have cancer.
Wow.
Well, I thought to myself, man, cancer ain't never looked this good. Hashtag CancerBae. Right then and there. Like that's literally what I said.
Wow.
And I just like I just knew like obviously I didn't have the entire vision, but I just knew that I was going to make something out of this technicality, because it's a technicality. That's all it is.
Mm. Wow. That mission down. And I think that's one of the really powerful aspects when we go through these big transitional moments and we go through things that there is trauma in being given a diagnosis like that, but actually there's the growth that comes, there's the new opportunities that comes, there's that personal transformation that comes. And what I can really feel is that purpose and mission, that's little seed sprouted in that moment where there was obviously also that shock and coming to the journey to acceptance of it, but alongside that there's that purpose, that mission. CancerBae was born, and here you are. So I would love to hear as well, you're on a big mission. You are already making waves, hence why I got this was not gifted, this shirt. This is me supporting CancerBae because I love what you're doing. Tell us more around your hopes, your dreams of what is to come with CancerBae.
Okay, so I guess I should start with the name, right? The name CancerBae. It says CancerBae is short for Cancer Babe, right? Which technically means just because you have cancer doesn't mean you stop being a babe, right? And I took out the second B to make it more culturally relevant. Bae. Bae is that's like a term that, everyone uses to, describe bae, a love interest or like an interest. So CancerBae it's a new age charity aimed at changing the stigma associated with cancer. It's vibrant, it's exciting. Like I said before, most cancer charities are older and they come off a bit stale to certain demographics, right? My demographic, where I come from, what I look like, my aesthetic, the things that I've been through. A lot of cancer charities don't really appeal to me in the way that CancerBae appeals to people in my demographic, my age, my background, like everything, my demographic. So we're on a mission to, totally disrupt the current, sector of cancer charity, cancer fundraising, cancer awareness in the way that is uniquely vibrant and exciting, but also just like living, not really trying to overdo it, just like doing it in a way that feels unique, feels genuine, feels like fresh. And we do a series of events, series of fundraising events. Our biggest event, our flagship event, is called the CancerBae Classic, which is a global youth basketball series which blends youth sports with cancer awareness. We had our inaugural event last August at the University of Essex, and it was special. We invited 12 of the top U12 boys basketball teams down to compete for a national playoff. And it was fresh, exciting. The kids had a ball. We also partner with Cancer Research UK and help raise £6,000 for them in their research. We had loads of sponsors, and it was just like a splash of like hope, because a lot of those kids, if we're looking to change the stigma associated with cancer, which is our mission, right? The only way to change the stigma and the narrative is by getting at it from the youth, right? Anything that's done, anything that is proposing change has to go with the newer generation, and it has to build up and hopefully, spread out. So our thought is like, if we can get to the kids in their youth or their adolescent and change that narrative right away, as they get older, it will spread. And when they're adults, it wouldn't even be a thing because they learned as a child, there's nothing to be scared of. And there's nothing to be scared of. It's just a technicality. Yeah, dad has this. Yeah, grandma has this, but she's still here. What I mean? We're still living, we're still thriving, and I'm here for her in our time of need. It's not like it's considered deathly. I mean, are like and mentally considered definitely are like, a dark cloud. It's something that, knowledge is power, and we can educate these kids in understanding that how, just genetics, right? Because all cancer is like an abnormal cell. That's all it is, abnormal cells in the body. So we can help them understand that in their adolescence. By the time they're older, it won't even be a thing. And the mission will be accomplished.
Oh, I love that. Really, yeah, changing that narrative. And I think it is so important, because if it's not talked about within adults, then it's definitely not being talked about with youth, with children. And actually, I think that I can feel that essence of the movement building, and everything you're doing, because we met when you were speaking at Kicks and Coffee. Hopefully I always say it the wrong way around. Coffee. I was thinking the cooking first, Kicks and Coffee. And, even that of being really rooted in the streetwear, in the sneaker scene, and just getting the conversation out there in really unique, really different ways, I think is absolutely essential, because actually, yeah, the conversation, it does need to change, where, I've seen you writing before around how that perspective of cancer is a death sentence. But if we think about life in general, life for all of us is a death sentence. 100% of us will die. So why don't we enjoy our life and enjoy all of the gifts that we get in the now? And that's what I can really, really feel. And I think being able to destigmatize all of that is so profound and so powerful, as you shared, where obviously so many of us are seeing, yeah, those research, the research petri dishes and stuff on TV, or that perspective, or yeah, the only time that we witness conversations around cancer are things where it's in a hospital setting. It's like, no, let's see the full picture and let's embrace life. So I can really feel that in your mission.
I was just gonna say that we're getting started. My biggest hope is that, like, the unique fundraising events that we do just get bigger and bigger. Like, when I think about CancerBae, I just close my eyes and think about like vibrant colors, lots of laugh, people gathering, like a concert, I think of like Coachella, like CancerBae CancerBae Day. I think of CancerBae Day, which is like a Coachella setting where it's just like optimism, hope, colors, cheering, laughter. Yeah, just great energy. Like, just great energy, like Woodstock. Like, you know what I mean? Just like great, the new age Woodstock, just like great energy. And I want to do just like unique activations. Like, I'm thinking of like retreats. I'm thinking of retreats. I'm thinking of like adult mixers. I'm thinking of concerts. I'm thinking of basketball tournaments. I'm thinking of like, I think we just hitting the ground floor of what I got in my head. So
wow, I love that. As soon as you said retreats, I thought, yeah, that's got CancerBae all over it, just with your mindset that you're bringing, because it is a mindset. I think that resilience that you speak about and the hope, those are things that we can tap into. But the mindset and that awareness of the mindset is something that I think I know you bring in abundance, and it's really unique as well when it comes to that charity, that raising awareness, but then the mindset alongside. So with mindset in mind, I have one final question for you, and that is, I ask this of every single guest, and it's, if you could write a note to a past version of yourself, this could be at any point in your life, it could be you as a child, it could be you at the point of your diagnosis, or any other time, from where you're sitting right now, what would you say to that former version of yourself?
I would probably write a note to myself in like after university, right after university, where I'm deciding like what am I going to do as an adult, right? And I would write a note to myself saying like, stay true to your energy. It'll all be worth it. This test will be your testament. Hashtag CancerBae.
Hashtag CancerBae. I love that. Powerful words of wisdom from you, Will. Wise, very wise.
Yeah, it's crazy. People used to think I made up my name. People used to think my name was an alias. I'm like, yo, what? Who would do that? But I understand people would do that. But I'm like,
Hmm.
nah, this is just, but again, I'm just law of attraction. I'm just being who I was always meant to be.
Yeah, exactly that. It was written, and so it was written, your name, Will Wise. I love that.
And so it is.
And so it is. So finally, for anyone who wants to support CancerBae, have more of you and your incredible journey in their world, where can they find you?
Yes. Anyone who's looking to join the movement, support the movement, we have a lot of things planned. We need help. We need funding, corporate sponsors. If you're looking to, help fund an amazing movement / plethora of events, you can reach out to me at will@cancerbae.com. That's my email, or info@cancerbae.com for all, sponsor inquiries. But for everyone else who's just looking to, feel moved, you can find me on socials, willwise24, or you can just look up the hashtag CancerBae, and you'll see my face. You'll see my I appreciate you. Anyone who's gone through anything, in your moments of fear, nervousness, uncertainty, loneliness. If you need a smile, if you need a break, if you need something to get your mind off of it, follow me on socials, and I promise you, I'll help brighten your day. I'll help that those moments of clouds seem less cloudy. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Will. Honestly, you bring such sunshine. So I would say go out and follow Will, follow your journey, and on those cloudy days, definitely connect in for those smiles. And I'm so grateful to you for joining me for this conversation today. The episode is going out on World Cancer Day, but to be honest, every day we need to be having these conversations. So whenever you're listening or watching this, it's on all of us to be bringing these conversations out of the shadows and into the mainstreams. And I'm so grateful to you, Will, for everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you allowing me to, join your platform to elevate mine. And this is the beginning of something special. I feel a long-term partnership going on here. We'll see what happens. But World Cancer Day is next Tuesday. We'll say it one more time. Statistically speaking, 1 in 2 people will be diagnosed with cancer in our lifetime. If that's statistically the case, there shouldn't be a negative taboo surrounding the word. Talk about it, please. There's no need to hide it. Talk about it, because people, you never know who you might help just by talking about it. And I'm just going to get you one of these CancerBae shirts. They're on sale right now. World Cancer Day, we got a 50% off, so CancerBae.com.
CancerBae. I'll put all of the links in the show notes. Go check it out. And thank you so much, Will.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Until next time.
All of my gratitude to you for joining me for another Dead Conversation. Death on the Daily is edited by David Strutt. The music is Set Free by Katie Gray. And I am Tanya Wilkinson. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would be over the moon if you can rate, review, and subscribe. It really, really helps me to get the word out there. And if you want to say hi or to hear more about my work as a coach and death doula, including how I support my clients to navigate their death on the daily, then all of the ways that you can connect with me are in the show notes. I'll be back soon with some more Dead Conversations. And in the meantime, take good care of yourself and others.
There's a cold fire, there's a crossfire, and there's something inside. And we'll never make it, and we'll never break it.